السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وعزيزنا وكريمنا ورحيمنا ونبينا وسندنا محمد رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وأنصاره وأزواجه وعلينا معهم. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى عز وجل في القرآن المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: اتقوا الله حيثما كنت. Honorable brothers and respected sisters, if I am being completely honest, Allah above me, and this is the time of Jum'ah, some things had transpired last night which had made me lose my sleep and rest. And I was tossing and turning in my bed because I could not find rest based on what happened last night. And I addressed it to some people, and I thought that today I would speak the discourse on that discussion here. However, it's a topic more related to the youth, and since they are not here, and most of the people here are senior youth, PhD in being a youth, so inshallah next week I have the first Jum'ah, I will talk on that topic then, and then this time I will speak on whatever Allah puts inside the heart. Coming back right now from the janazah, as I walked into the masjid, I see the brother carrying the mic stand, and I asked immediately, do we have a janazah? And at the very time I'm hearing Imam Azhar quote the famous poetry, يا واقف على قبري لا تتعجب عن أمري كنت مثلك بالأمس وغدا تكون مثلي. O you who stand by my grave, don't be surprised. We hear the news of someone passing away and they send shockwaves through us. Nobody says, I expected this person to pass away. A few weeks ago we had a brother, he was in special care, and though the doctors had already decreed that he would not live and he would not exist, at that moment still when they pulled the plug and he passed away, it still came as a shock. No person embraces death without it being a shock. And the reality is that every day, every second, every minute is of the unknown. But today, you and I and every one of us have our life mapped out. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam draws a box, and he makes this box, and he takes a line from one end, and he crosses it to the end of the box, and then he goes beyond that. And he says that this line is your hopes and your aspiration. This line is your goals. You see, it's a box. Imagine this thing over here as a box, and there's a line. It goes halfway and then it continues after this box. The Prophet of Allah drew it on the ground. Then he said, you see this line, these are your hopes and ambitions. And he says, you see this box, this is the box of your life. Look at your calendars. We have things planned for the next month, next week, 6 months later, a year later, few years later, 10 years later, 401ks are set. At the age of this, I will take this out and I will do that. But no one has a guarantee at the very moment of how long our life will be. We walk from a janazah. Many of us have prayed janazahs, and there is no distinction for the janazah, whether it may be a senior person in their 80s or whether it may be a child in the days of their early birth. There is no limit, there is no time. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi says, Adhanul mar'i hina tiflu ya'ti wa ta'khir as-salati ila al-mamati dalilun anna mahyahu yasirun kama bayna al-adhani ila as-salati. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi says that when a child is born, it is sunnah to give adhan in the right ear and give iqamah in the left ear. But no salah is performed, no salah is embraced, nothing is done, just an adhan and iqamah. Which adhan and which iqamah has no salah to it? There is no such thing. Adhan literally has hayya ala salah in it. Iqamah literally has qad qamat as-salah in it. Hayya ala salah means come to salah. Qad qamat as-salah means if this is in the past tense. Qad qamat salah has already been established, and this is to show the certainty of the salah that you use the past tense. This is an Arabic balagha point, and I won't indulge you in it. This is in the adhan and iqamah, but no salah is performed. And then you go on, and we just finished our salatul janazah. For those who were present, we just finished salatul janazah. Neither an adhan was given, neither an iqamah was given. So the poet, the great muhaddith Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi says that when a child is born, the adhan is inserted, the iqamah is given, and you are told your salah is still waiting. The adhan and iqamah is given already. Your salah is still waiting, your salah is pending. And we tell people that every one of us has to enter the masjid, either walking on our 2 feet or stretching on a plane. Every one of us has to enter here. But you know the interesting thing about janazah is, why do we pray janazah in the gym? Not just because of the space restriction, that's not why. The prophetic sunnah is that the salah is not performed in the masjid. That is the prophetic sunnah. Musalla al-janaiz. Nabi alayhi salam had a musalla al-janaiz. The imam till this day goes to a separate location and prays the janazah. Janazahs are generally not supposed to be performed in the masjid. And there are a lot of hikmah and wisdom to it. From one being that it doesn't get dirty and this and that. But one of the most iconic points that comes out is that the masjid is for the hayy. The masjid is for the living. But today our masjids are crying out. Today our masjids are exclaiming the emptiness that's inside. And I was mentioning to you that honestly, last night I was literally twisting and turning in my bed. And I won't go too much into detail on the topic. But I turned around, and we have this culture of Instagram and Snapchat. So in this you can see into anyone's life at any moment. And there was a time when we were growing up as children, we didn't grow up. Though I was born in Dallas and I spent a considerable time here and abroad. But when I was growing up, you committed a sin, and that sin was between you and your Allah. But today, not only do we commit the sin, but then we post it. لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء إلا من ظلم. Allah says, I don't appreciate any person exposing or showing off their sins besides the one who's oppressed or the one who's harmed, that my oppression was done, this was done to me, and you tell someone else. You are not allowed to tell others of someone else's sin. This is called ghibah. وَالْغِيبَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الزِّنَا. Your mistake I can't tell someone else. But we live in an era where we take our sins and we post them online. And Allah says on the day of judgment, الْيَوْمَ نَخْتِمُ عَلَىٰ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَتُكَلِّمُنَا أَيْدِيهِمْ وَتَشْهَدُ أَرْجُلُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Allah says on that day I will summon them before يَقُومُ النَّاسُ أَجْدَاثًا. People will rise and they will be in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah will say, الْيَوْمَ نَخْتِمُ. We will seal their mouths and we will shut their mouths. وَتُكَلِّمُنَا أَيْدِيهِمْ. And we will tell their hands, speak. وَتَشْهَدُ أَرْجُلُهُمْ. And we will tell their feet, speak. And the ground will begin to speak. And these things that have witnessed our sins will begin to speak. And in this era, may Allah forgive us, we broadcast our sins online and we put them on social media, and then we increase the viewers of the sins. Not only do we defy Allah, but then we are proud of it. This culture has taken us, it's engrossed us. I mean, you go back to the philosophical perspective of what the Prophet ﷺ says, لا تدخل الملائكة فيها بيت ولا كلب ولا لا تدخل الملائكة بيت فيها كلب ولا تصاوير. But the malaika don't enter the home, and when there is pictures, and where there are dogs. This is the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ. And then we sit there and we're like, no, but this hadith refers to this picture and not that picture. But there's still an element and a possibility refers to any picture. There's still an element and possibility. And there's still a group of ulama and a large group of ulama that hold that view. And they say that other pictures are just ijaza and just they're just for necessity purposes. You have to go for hajj, umrah, necessity. But we've forgotten that. And we've taken it as an adoption. We've taken that every aspect of it. And every moment of my life has to be put in a picture. The food comes in front of me. Before the Mu'tabar Haqq used to get angry that if a person comes to the table, if the food was brought and then the individual comes, he would say, this is a blessing of Allah. The blessing of Allah shouldn't wait for you, but you should wait for the blessing and the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're sitting at home, table set, come from downstairs, calling this kid and that kid at home, and no one's coming downstairs and the food is getting cold. And this is against the respect and the izz of the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then we get there and we arrive at the food, and the first thing is, neither do we thank the mother who made it, or the father who supported it, or the mother who supported it and the father who made it. We don't say anything to anyone. Man lam yashkurillah, lam yashkurillah. The one who doesn't thank people hasn't thanked Allah. We don't go down that right. Neither do we say the dua and thank our Allah. But the moment we do, what do? We take our phones out, we take a picture, post it on social media. For what reason? So that other people can see us, and their respect for us and their value for us and admiration for us raises. Think for a second the psychological effect of this thing. And last night, that's what I saw. I saw that the children and the community and these youngsters, beautiful, Allah has blessed them with knowledge. Some hafaz Quran. And I looked back and I saw this and I said, what happens 50 years from now? We can't grow the iman and strengthen the iman and the identity of Islam in ourselves today. What happens 50 years from now? I have walked through the city of Tashkent in Samarkand. And they did not know my background. It was a tour guide in Uzbekistan. He didn't know my background. So he's sitting there and he's telling us, this building you see over here used to be called a madrasa. He says, a madrasa is a place where the Muslims' holy book, Quran, is memorized. And I'm like, yes, brother, I spent 9 years in one. But I'm just listening, because I want to see where he's going with this. And then he says, today, this is a place, a restaurant, a very well-known restaurant, and it has one of the best alcohol in it. And then I was in Samarkand, and for those who don't know Samarkand, this is where Imam Bukhari rahimahullah is buried, and also Qutb ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma is buried. He was the brother of Abdullah bin Abbas, and he was the individual who brought the blessed body of the Prophet ﷺ inside his grave. He descended with the Prophet in his grave, Qutb bin Abbas. He's buried all the way in former Russia, Uzbekistan. And we went to a restaurant, and in the restaurant they're showing pictures of what the restaurant used to be. And I see children with Quran and halaqas of ilm. And the very restaurant is the one that has alcohol being served today. You know, my mother, may Allah bless her and give her a long and healthy life. I've studied by giants in my life. I've studied by people who's not Sheikh, spend moments and times with Sheikh Shuaib Arnaoud, Sheikh Sabuni, Sheikh Muhammad bin Muhammad al-Awwama. Those who know these names, they know that these are not some lightweight names. These are people who've authored 20, 30 volumes of books. But the most powerful lessons I've ever learned were from my parents. Knowledge I gained from others. But the life lessons that have been seared in me, there's no greater teacher than a parent. No Shaykh al-Hadith, no one. Parents are parents. The other day my mom was talking to me, and she was like, someone called her, and someone said, "Did you hear what's happening in Saudi? They're opening this cinema, and they're opening this and that, and this actor came and that guy." So she said, I turned to that person and I said, "You're so worried about Saudi, but is this not the same thing that happens inside your house?" ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. It's our own actions. Rectify our own homes. We're worried about everyone else's homes. We went and made our children huffaz. We put them in Islamic schools. We gave them Muslim titles and labels and names. We dropped the hijab on top of them. But we never grew the iman and the pride of iman and the Muslim identity inside them. Everything goes back to that root cause. Ask a child today, pray salah. Why do you pray salah? He has no idea. Tell him, translate, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. No idea. I'm praying salatul janazah. On my right is youth, left is youth, front is youth, behind is youth. None of them I can hear them say anything or whisper anything. Mum and silent, no one knows what to say. And I'm thinking at that time, standing there, and my mind is reflecting that subhanAllah, how much more work do we have left? And that's all that's echoing in my mind. And we have to go back and ask ourselves that the iman, how did we strengthen the iman? The Prophet ﷺ, his seerah, 13 years Makkah, 10 years Medina. In the 13 years of Makkah, there weren't commandments. Ahkam came later. Few commandments came. Salah was ordained in Makkah after Mi'raj. First it was 2 salahs, then 5. Don't do shirk. Certain ahkam were ordained in Makkah. However, the vast majority of commandments, from Nahyul Khamar, the prohibition of alcohol, the prohibition of mut'ah, the prohibition of so many aspects, all came in Medina. So 13 years the Prophet spent time with alcoholics. He spent time with people who did a whole variety of sins. But he didn't just come there and say, look, alcohol is haram, you have to pray salah. No, he built iman inside them. He built the value of iman inside them. He made them understand how special they are, how important they are. But you know what our mentality is? Deen is important when we need it. But when we don't need it, it's just our religion. We live our secular perspective in our secular lives. Deen is just something that you do on Friday, at a wedding, at a burial. This is what the deen is limited to. Deen is the map work of what we're supposed to be doing. It's our manual. But how do you get someone to accept that? I was in Cardiff, And I was invited there for a Islam Awareness Week talk. Cardiff is in the UK, with Wales. And I was in a room full of youngsters, and I began my discussion on who is God. So I asked a simple question. I said, what does God mean to you? When you think of Allah, what comes to your mind? Most of the children were of Desi backgrounds, some were Arab. And every one of them said, when I think of God, I think of someone I have to respect, that I'm scared, this, that. Some of them said, I love him, like this. And then there was this young girl sitting in the back. And I was using certain Arabic terminology, like Rahma and Rahman, Rahim. So I see, and I asked, is there anybody who's not Muslim? So one girl in the back raised her hand. She said, I'm not a Muslim. I said, okay, we have one non-Muslim, and I'll tailor my discourse based on that. So then I began translating aspects. So she raised her hand again. I said, yes, sister. She said, you don't need to translate for me. I understand what you're saying. I said, really? How? I said, do you take Arabic or something? She's like, no, I used to live with Muslims. And I was like, were you adopted? I'm sorry for me prying, but this is very interesting to me. I've never had. She says, no. My parents are Muslim, and I used to live with them, and I was a Muslim, and I left Islam, and now I'm a Christian. And I asked her, I said, what made you leave? And you know what she said? She said, because Jesus was a loving God. And in Islam, I didn't see the love. And then I turned towards her, and then I just spoke. I said, the love of Allah? I said, let me ask you, because she said, in Christianity, we're forgiven for all of our mistakes. And Christ died for us, and He got crucified and this and that. So I asked her one simple question. I said, our Allah is not only loving and merciful, but He is also adil, He is just. Because if I was to say that every person without fail is forgiven, there are people who have harmed other people on earth, and no human's reach can get to that. And if we were to say that this person, just because they're Muslim, now they can do whatever they want, Hajjaj bin Yusuf slaughtered thousands of Sahaba with his own hand. Abdullah bin Zubair radiallahu anhuma is hung by the neck in Makkah Mukarramah, Tariq al-Shuhada, by the Fazij and Tariq al-Shuhada. In the haram of Allah, Hajjaj bin Yusuf slaughtered the man. Now we're going to say, just because you're a Muslim, it's okay? No. There's justice that needs to be served. Who's gonna take the justice for this man who lived in sin, who murdered, who harmed, who looted people, and then after that he gets away? The ones who killed Sayyidina Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu in the field of Karbala, Abdullah bin Ziyad and their likes, they'll get away? No, we have a just Allah. And she listened and she reflected and she commented and she said, no one ever explained it in this manner. Fortify the essence of Tawheed. Make them proud of their identity. Make them proud of them being Muslim. Don't be scared to say your name is Muhammad. Your name doesn't have to become Mohammed or Mo. I met one guy, my name is Sam. I looked at the brother, he was like 70 years old, thick accent, Gujarati accent, and I was like, uncle, are you? I was like, Sam? He's like, haan, beta. He's like, mera naam hai Shahid, and I'm Sam. I'm like, that doesn't even connect. I'm like, there's no even connection in there. One guy is Haris Patel, becomes Harry Potter. All these different names. Embrace it. MashaAllah, people are talented outside. They love learning cultures. They go on and they pronounce delicacies and foods in different ways. This is not a croissant, this is a croissant, or whatever the case may be. I was in Seville, and he said, it's not Seville, it's Seville. I was like, Ya Rab. I was like, it's written Seville. No, but that's the wrong way of pronouncing it. This is the more appropriate way. Wallahi, if you sit down and teach, pronounce my name in the right way. It's not that hard. Muslim and Muslim. Just say Muslim. But when we start changing the aspect in which, no, we have to accommodate. No, they're willing to listen, they're willing to learn, they're willing to reciprocate, they're willing to be on the same page as you. But you have to value and respect it. You're scared to pray your salah. You're embarrassed of your deen. We're embarrassed of our deen. Not just you. We're all. It happens to all of us. I know when I go outside, even this, and I just think to myself, what are other people thinking? I'm at the airport. Should I pray my salah or not? And then I think to myself that I'm scared of other people, but what about Allah? إذا ما قال لي ربي أما استحييت تحسيني وتخفي الذنب عن خلقي وبالعصيان تأتيني. My time is done. There's two things I want to mention. Something I completely forgot about, which is that we have a cemetery that we are funding for. And this is an amazing. My grandma's buried in Denton, and she's the inspiration of why I took this path. One of the main inspirations. May Allah bless her. And when I completed, a month later she passed away. And Janaza was in Richardson, burial in Denton. And I can't tell you how guilty I feel that the closest woman to me and the one who inspired me, that it's difficult for me to constantly go and pay my respects at the graveyard. It's her right upon me. And there is no graveyard that will be outside of Madinatul Munawwara more special to me than that graveyard. There's no doubt about it. My grandma's buried there. But I can resonate with the challenge of going all the way over there and then not going. Months go by and we don't go. And is that the situation we want to be in tomorrow when we're buried? Your support of this cemetery is one of the most selfless things you can do, because you don't know if you'll be buried there. But you're preparing a plot for believers. And you know what a Muslim graveyard means? Till the end of times, there will be witnesses that Muslims lived in this area. I'll make the khutbah a little further. One more point, inshallah. Forgive me for that extra thing to say. I was in Samarkand again. And there is this graveyard that's written in books, which is called Maqbaratul Muhammadiyya, a graveyard where every person buried in it has to be called Muhammad. And not only were their names Muhammad, they had to be a Hafid of the Quran, a Mufti, and a specialist of Hadith scholar. However, this graveyard became lost to people because of the fact when the Soviets came and they razed the whole thing to ground, and there was a tsunami, or there was some, not a tsunami, but there was some sort of flood that had flooded the entire grave area. Just recently, we read about this in books. Recently, they uncovered the plot of those lands. And where they found, I've seen with my own eyes, the stone graves that over here is where the Maqbara of Muhammadiyya existed. And one of them is the author Sahib al-Hidayah, is buried in the same place. And Abu Mansur Maturidi, rahimahullah, is also buried in the same place. All Muhammads. A graveyard is the sign. No matter who takes over that land, eventually it will resort back to its Muslims, because there is a Muslim buried there, and it's an evidence and a witness. So please support it. If you can't make it to the cemetery, the fundraiser is in 2 weeks, inshallah, on the 9th. If you can't make it, put a donation in. $1,000, $500, whatever you can give. Make a commitment. Be part of this sadaqah jariyah. No hand should leave from this community without being a part of it, for your posterity and your children after. You don't know which generation of yours will be inside there, and the ajr will be still coming to you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept whatever has been said, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our sins. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'an al-azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikril hakim. Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa lisa'il muslimin fastaghfiruh. الحمد لله علي الأجل الواحد الفضل القديم الأول فأنت مليك الناس ربا فضل ثم الصلاة على النبي الأفضل فإني أولا بدأ بأمر قد بدأ الله تعالى بنفسه ثم ثنى ملائكته المقربين وثلثنا به قال بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد بعدد من صلى وصام وصل على محمد بعدد من قعد وقام اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أصلح أحوال المسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأزواجنا ولأولادنا ولمشايخنا ولمن له حق علينا يا رب العالمين. اللهم اصلح أحوال المسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم احفظ المسجد الأقصى. اللهم احفظ المسجد الأقصى. اللهم احفظ المسجد الأقصى. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please straighten the lines, fill in the gaps, and silence the cell phones. Allahu Akbar.